Let's see if we got that. Hey, everybody. I am back. I am back. Approve. Let's get this access going. Oh, he gave me a thumbs up. I am back. Today with us being off, I thought that I would do a couple of Facebook Lives that I wouldn't normally do on today. And one of them went very well this morning. I hope you guys were able to tune in this afternoon. Now we're going to talk with Mr. Chris Cole. Some of you know him, some of you do not, but I'm going to make sure that those of you who don't know him will get to know him. And my topic today with Chris is the idea of what fighting for fatherhood looks like. So let's go here. Number one, let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Torri J. Evans Barton, better known as Dr. Torri J. I am the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. I am an author, I'm a speaker, and I am a coach. One of the things that I love to do more than anything is coach people to the point where they are able to connect the dots of their own pain, recognizing how their fatherlessness is playing a truly traumatic role in their adult life and in their adult relationships. It has been a privilege to coach quite a few people in this season of COVID. And then Healing Tuesdays is something I get to do that I love to do that gives us a different lens and a different perspective of how we got to where we are in our lives and in our relationships. It is not an easy thing to have to go backwards in order to get positioned properly in your present. I'm sorry, my dog is doing a whole lot of things over here, you guys. He's making a lot of noise and I know you can hear him. So that's what I get to do, as well as I reunite fatherless children with their biological fathers. I can tell you it has not been the easiest thing to do in this season because of COVID, but I believe things are turning around with courts opening back up, with things just finally getting back to normal, at least for a moment in time. Let me see where my interviewee happens to be. I know he was getting something else set up, but I want to introduce Chris Cole to you, even as we're talking about COVID and what I get to do. Chris is one of my clients. I will tell you that. It's been challenging, and he can tell you as well with COVID, because things really didn't get started until maybe 2 weeks ago, where things were starting to get back to normal. Now we are starting to get back to normal in courts. And so we can proceed with a lot of different things that we weren't able to do for the last, 3 months. That has been challenging over here because I've had to turn people away with some of the simplest things that I just wouldn't normally do that with. I had to take a break myself, to be honest with you. So that's been a lovely part of it. But managing some of your emotions, dealing with this, it's one of the reasons I'm doing this even now. I've had other conversations about fatherhood during COVID. There's a couple of articles that I have been a part of that are coming out concerning that, because I know several fathers have not been able to see their children, or it's been challenging for you to see children that you have custody orders for during this time. And this is why I wanted to come on and talk with Chris about this, so that we could give you some hope, so that we could help you navigate where you are as well, and help you breathe. Chris has a story and a journey like many fathers, very similar to Ryan's story and journey. But the reason I wanted to talk to him is there's a few unique perspectives and twists that he has that Ryan and I weren't able to tap into in such a short window. So this is kind of the continuation of that conversation, but not, because it's a different person. Where is Chris? Look, where is my person? Let me see. Hold on, let me text him. Where are you? So, fighting for fatherhood. I see a few people on right now. I know people are just coming back because they were like, we just left your page. So some people are going to jump on because they're like, we just left. But I want some people to tell me, what has fighting for fatherhood been like for them? Because I think that can help framework this conversation as well. What has fighting for your fatherhood looked like for you? And before I get those chimes, I want to also say, I know my page is called Fatherless Generation Foundation. And I know some people get agitated because I'm talking about fathers and their plight, and I don't highlight a lot about single motherhood in that the same way. It's because of some of the stuff that I know, not from my own personal experience, but from the work that I do. It's why we always, she said, it's all good. We will always come back. Well, thank you, Ashley. The reason I fight for both, meaning fatherless children and their fathers, is because they're the two who are having the same experience. The mother's having a totally different experience. And I also feel like there's enough pages out there that cater to single moms that I can direct you to, that I think they do a really good job of doing that. There's multiple pages that I look at. And so I don't want to repeat the same thing. I can share different topics. I can share different articles about it, but I don't get involved in that part of it simply because I'm not a single mom. And a lot of times the single moms, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, you guys don't want to talk about the father. You guys don't even want him to participate. And when you say that you do, I'm going to keep it 100 right now. And when you say that you do, and then I start to move, you give me so much pushback. So I then recognize she doesn't really want him involved. It just sounds good. Or she wants him involved only the way she wants him involved. And so I need you to recognize that that's why I don't post a lot about single moms and their journeys other than from other people's pages and so on and so forth. But I don't make it a thing for me to get a single mom on here and talk about why she's a single mom and be strong and empowered in that. I want you to be strong and empowered in being a co-parent. That's what I want you to be. And I'm going to have a client that I've worked with. When I tell you this was a rough one. But they are now co-parenting in a way that I cannot believe that these two are. I see you, Chris. Give me 1 second. I can't believe they co-parent the way that they do. And it's because of how we all started out. So I will definitely get them on to have a conversation about co-parenting. I definitely do that on Healing Tuesday. But I need you guys to recognize that the reason I'm having conversations and you see a lot of posts about fatherlessness and fatherhood is because those two people are having the exact same experience. Those two. Okay, so we'll talk about that on another live. Before I bring Chris on, because I did ask the question, how are you fighting for fatherhood? Mitchell comes on and he says, fighting for my fatherhood has been nothing but hell, courts, retaliate against you because you want equal time with your kids. Courts retaliate against you when you try to make sure that custodial parent follows the court order for visitation, which they don't. Yeah, they don't. Courts are corrupt. We need a lot of help to turn this around. And what it's going to take is a lot of women to help fathers get their rights back because legislators don't listen to men. Now that's a thing. Ashley says the problem is there are tons of resources for single mothers and almost none for single fathers and almost none for boys and men. Mitchell said, I sat on a single parent group, which I was the only father. All the rest were women, and the counselor had everyone go around the table and talk about what it's like to be a single parent. And all the women complain about no time to themselves, too much work to do by themselves. And when it got around to me, I said, where's the father? Are you keeping the children from the father? That is all your fault, because I'm sure the father would want some time with the kids. So you get time to yourself. Mitchell, I don't think you part of that group anymore. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but when you say that to women, they get agitated. That's why they're not a part of this. So let me bring on, yeah, you kind of slid in here. Yeah, let me bring on Chris Cole. And you guys, Chris is, as he puts on here, the director of Victims of Family Law. That's one of the reasons I used that picture that I used for him. Chris is a client of ours. Chris is also, I call him a country western singer, but we joke, that's my joke, but he's a singer.
From New York.
He
A country
definitely,
from New York.
huh?
A country western singer from New York.
You still love country music. It's in your heart and it's in your twang.
As we learned in family law, it's not what you are, it's what you pretend to be.
I get it. And you got the twang down.
Yeah.
So Chris
My
is
kid's
also
mom is Southern, so I picked up her accent.
you did not pick up her accent at all.
No.
But I want to also highlight this. Chris is right now auditioning for The Voice, so we are cheering him on. Did you get a second audition?
I got to break the silence on that. I was getting an outpour of support, and since it's sort of slowed down at this point, I got a message. I got an email that evening, like at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, saying that I was not invited to the next. So if that goes to show you something too, judges don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Wait, whoa. Judges, what judges?
The judges for the show. Oh, and then the ones in family court.
Oh, I was like, because we're gonna have a conversation here, so I wanted to make sure I was on the right one. So
I want to make sure that you know I'm not pulling punches on this one.
So you're telling me you got a second audition, but now you don't get to go to the next place.
Correct. So originally I had to do 2 auditions because their software on their website didn't record me well. So I had posted a video of from another device that I recorded of myself while also on their website recording, because it goes straight to them. It's not something that you can have tangibly afterwards. So okay. I sent it in, and the audio video wasn't good. It wasn't good going through their website. So I did another one, and that was the video you probably saw, the last song that I did in the garage. And I really think I'm not good at a lot of things, but I think I nailed that. And I actually went on YouTube and pulled up top 5 performances of that song, including the United States, The Voice, and then the ones abroad in other countries. And there were, like I said, I'm not going to be modest. I'm not good at everything, but I nailed that audition as good, if not better, than every one of them, and as good as the original artist.
I got somebody right here. I got Andre. She said, sample, please.
Are you able to pull things up on your screen? I don't know if you know how to do it
right now. See, I'm not you. I won't do that, but you'll do that.
I don't know how to pull up stuff on my end.
No, I'm talking about she wants you to sing right now.
Oh, I got a guitar right here.
I know you do. Give him the verse and the chorus, Chris. Give him
that song?
Yeah, or whatever song you want to sing. Give him the verse and the chorus.
Can you hear that okay? Okay, I don't have the words in front of me, but I can mumble them.
Sing whatever.
Whatever song?
Yeah.
How about my song?
How about your song? Verse and chorus.
Okay. Sometimes it hurts to think about you, or to see your pictures on my phone. Your mom and dad both care about you. She and I just couldn't get along. So I'm out here trying to make it really sure what that means. 'Cause I'm missing you like crazy, and my heart's not here with me. And I'm wondering what you'll see when you get old enough to see. Will you ask me, Daddy, why did you leave for Tennessee? Leave for Tennessee.
Woo!
I'm going to sing that song to a judge and let him deny me my children.
See, Chris,
Yeah.
this is a different conversation than the last one I had. So
No, I'm not timid.
Ryan isn't either. That's not what we're talking about. Chris is somebody I have to reel in sometimes, you guys, when we're working together. And not in a bad way. Oh, come on. Love him. He's got ADHD on a whole nother level, but that's what I love about him. And
Don't diagnose me. They're going to use that in court if you diagnose me on a video.
Diagnose you. I'm not a therapist.
Your Honor, no, you're a psychologic. What are you?
I'm not dealing with you today. See, this is what we do.
I have to look it up. I forget what you got called.
After I'm done working with Chris and we're getting all the stuff out of the way, this is what we do. We banter back and forth. This is exactly what we do. So he got a text that his ex called me some weird name that's not even a thing. And so he called me on Facebook or something. I'm not any of what she thinks I am. So it is what it is. Oh, my husband came on. You guys, please share, or if you're watching in replay, please put it in the replay. Andre said, fighting for fathers while singing. She said, I love it. Yes, Andre, that was one of the conversations Chris and I had. Chris wanted, can I tell that part of the story, Chris?
Tell whatever you want.
Oh, how nice of you.
Yeah.
So when you become a client, you become a friend in a sense. And Chris loves to talk. He uses his voice a lot on social media. And I kept saying, how many people listen to you when you talk? And he said, a lot of people listen to me when I talk, right? And I said, but how many more listen to you when you sing? And he was like, and he was like, a lot more. And it wasn't it was maybe 4 or 5 days. You had written that song. And
we wrote a song called As Much As I Need You.
As Much As I Need You.
And it was from the kids' perspective. It's the kids singing to the mom and the dad. And it's sort of, but it was actually us tapping into our childhood, as if we were the children singing to our parents. And so I think that's where we go wrong, is when we become grown-ups, we get beaten with all this life stuff. And we become these broken adults, and we forget what it was like to be a child and to do as a parent or an adult what we as children knew was right. It was doing right and wrong.
Yeah. And that was, as soon as we had that conversation, he was like, And it was days later, he went with Madonna.
I got to give props to Madonna, because that wasn't how I was going to do it.
Nope, it wasn't.
And she introduced that perspective of the song from the kids' perspective, and it turned out great, and it melted my little heart, and my kids liked it too.
I'll post that in the box so you guys can, in the comments, so you guys can have it later. And shout out to Andre Cheek Castleberry. Andre is one of the directors at the Department of Juvenile Justice Task Force for Reentry that I'm on the board for. So Andre, thank you for joining us today. Look, we're getting work. She's getting work done while listening to me. But let's get into this, because you just said some things, and I love the song that you wrote, and I love the fact that you heard me that day. You heard me that day, and you recognized that.
You, Chris, singing is how you're going to fight. And I said, okay.
Yeah, because it's the gift that you have. It's the gift that you have in order to penetrate the hearts of people. And when you got to Madonna, she then made you tap into the painful place and the broken place of yourself to get a song out that I think penetrates to the hearts of people, to help them understand where children are and where you were as a child. Right. And that's always part of the journey. You've got to get into the pain. And if you don't think you have any pain, you don't think you have any trauma, then I don't know how you can help people find their purpose. Purpose always comes out of trauma. And that's why many people can find it, because they won't go back to the trauma. They refuse to act like it's there. Nick said, where can I hear the songs?
So if you go on my YouTube channel, and I can jump on here, and I have my other phone in my hand, which is why I'm looking down.
Okay.
I'm sharing this conversation.
Ashley already beat you to it. She said on his Facebook and his YouTube. Ashley already put it in there.
It's nice to have 2 or 3 fans.
Right. you got saying. So let's go here because you talked about the childhood and the upbringing. Fighting for fatherhood doesn't start once you become a father.
Right.
And I need to say that. It starts in your childhood.
Right.
Fighting for fatherhood doesn't start when you become a father. It starts in your childhood. So, Chris, what was your childhood like growing up with your parents?
You know, my parents, you know, without exposing too much, you know, they had an up and down marriage, and they stayed together a while for us, and you know, we definitely had good times. We really did. We had family moments that were great, and we also had, you know, we bared witness to a lot of the struggles of adults, and so, you know, I would say it was a mixed bag. It wasn't all bad. They did the best they could. They didn't always do everything right. I can see where they made mistakes, and I can see where they really tried. And they made the right decisions, which was to not expose us to everything. But you know, when you live in a household and you hear fighting in a house, and a lot of it's verbal potty language, and you know, it's two adults arguing in front of you, and typically as kids we got used to what it was. We didn't know it was affecting us. We're like, you know, oh, mom and dad are fighting. It's Saturday morning. Let's go outside, or let's play video games. You know, so you learn to survive in any degree of trauma, whether it be minimal, just verbal, emotional, you know, neglect, or even physical, which, you know, my parents, for the most part, limited the physical, although they had their moments, and they joke about it now. And my parents are actually fairly, you know, they speak, we do functions together. You know, they learned and grew to where they put their crap aside, and that doesn't mean they still don't have resentments or hurt, and that's theirs to deal with. But they really have shown us later on in life, that it was about us. So I would give them that.
Okay. No, I like that because it paints a picture. And it goes back to what I just said. A lot of us get so caught up in fatherhood now, and we won't go into what that looked like for the man when he was a boy. We go into motherhood now, and we don't go back to what motherhood looked like for her as a little girl. And then both of those components intertwining with the opposite sex, the opposite party. And so then we find ourselves in relationships with individuals who had challenging upbringings. I am going to ask you, what was her? Because we ain't got to get, I'm sure she's watching somewhere.
Oh, no, she's watching. And if she's not watching, will.
Well, I'm not a physiologist or whatever that term is, because that's bad spelling. And I'm just.
Well, I blamed it on spell check, but it is a real word. She just got your doctorate wrong.
Okay. Well, she clearly got it wrong. So
it was, you weren't a gynecologist. You were a physiologist. Yeah.
Oh, that didn't look like that spelling, but okay.
The spelling, it's physiologist. I think she meant psychologist.
I'm neither.
Yes. Physiologist. PHYSIOLOGIST. Yeah, physiologist.
So moving on. So what was her background like growing up?
You know, I'm sure there were good moments, fond memories, but ultimately she would have to admit, because she's admitted to me in writing. You know, I have texts and emails, and I'm not going to share the details of all that either, but a broken home with a fairly toxic situation. Again, people doing the best they can with the tools in their toolbox, and not knowing that they come from brokenness because it's normal. And you don't know you're broken because it's always, you don't know what being healthy looks like or feels like. So, you know, her father was in and out. You know, she claims that there was abuse that went on in the household. I won't go into detail with who, what, where, when. And her father was relatively absent with, you know, who he dealt with alcohol and drugs. You know, I've had my battle with it and gotten sober for a while. Unfortunately, he passed away due to that illness, was in and out of jail. So she, you know, we talk about fatherlessness. You can grow up fatherless with a father part-time present, or popping in and out of your life, or making phone calls and texts. But that father, when we say fatherlessness, we say that the characteristics of a father, the physical characteristics, the being there, the support, all the emotional needs and those sort of things. You know, her father was around, at a very small level, in and out of jail. And unfortunately, he passed away due to the fact that he didn't get help in time. And it's very sad. And I'd have to admit that even I judged him, because I didn't understand his pain. And I ridiculed him. And since then, and she knows if she's watching, when I got sober, I stopped drinking and all that, and I quit smoking cigarettes and all that. I apologized to her, and I said, you know, it's not, you know, I spoke out of turn. I spoke harshly. Your father was sick, and it had no bearing on whether he cared about you or not. And I'm sorry for saying that.
So the pause moment right here is, you recognized you were her father.
I recognized that I was helping her relive that in a way.
Yeah.
Parts of me reminded her of her father.
That's from our perspective. A lot of times growing up, when we have a negative experience with our fathers, that's all we know about them. And so in some ways, that's all she knows. And so that's who you were. That's who she sees you as, because I can tell even now, that's who she thinks that you are. And even in your sobriety, that's the person she can't get past. And so because you triggered her first broken heart, you triggered where she wasn't. And so when you do that, now you're going to get all of the stuff that, you know, not just her, because I'm not making this about her.
No.
We are as human beings. When we can't give the person who hurt us the truth and what we want to give them, the person who then triggers us gets all of that. They get all of that, that hate, that love, that trauma, whatever that is, they get it all. Go ahead.
And as a physiologist, you know that.
Stop saying that. More people are going to think that's real. It's not.
I can't be serious. So, you know, if we are being serious, I want to tell her publicly, for my part of the bad relationship, and I want to move forward with our children, and I want to grow myself and be a healthier human being. I'm not tricking anybody. You know, she made statements that, well, the only reason people talk to you is because they don't know you. And in a way that's true, because 2 years ago, I'm different than the Chris that Dr. Torri knows. And she's not willing to accept my changes, whether she thinks they're real or not. I think it has more to do with whether or not she's willing to change.
And let me say,
and I irritate her spirit a little bit. She's got resentments.
And when I first met you, I was like, whoa.
I lost your audio.
Oh, I don't know why. I can hear you. Can you hear me? No, I can hear you.
I can't. You can't hear me?
I can.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
I don't. Go out and come back in.
The government doesn't want you to talk.
I'm gonna hear you guys, because we're clearly having, because he did kind of jumble when he was asking for forgiveness. He jumbled.
Hold on.
Hold on.
This is really weird. I didn't learn sign language.
And Ashley's saying she hears us both, and I didn't learn sign language.
You're muted.
No.
In some way.
No.
I don't know.
Go out and come back. Can he?
I can do, let me sign out of the meeting and I'll sign back in and see if that fixes anything, okay?
See, I had to send it through telepathy, you guys. But I don't even know what that is. But where was I going? While he was apologizing, yeah, you're like, she isn't muted. When he was apologizing, you guys notice how that was skipping like that? He was sharing his heart. And I think that needs to be really heard, because when he was doing that, I was just recognizing that. Wait, he's coming back on. Okay,
there we go. Yeah, I can hear you now. I don't know what
you couldn't hear me. There was a point where your phone was like that when you were apologizing, which I think you so we can hear it. It was jumping a bit, and I think it took your sound out. So why don't you go back to that, and then I'll say what I was going to say.
So I've tried to do this. I even apologized when we split and got back together, and unfortunately we can't even speak at this moment. And it's not because of me. It's because she's dealing with whatever she's dealing with. I apologize to her.
You were apologizing.
Yeah.
So I think it was a moment.
Yeah. I was apologizing for my part in the toxic battle. And since then, I've learned to stop blaming her for my behavior, my responses to her behavior, which was bad. Or both of our behaviors were bad. And I can't sit here and justify anymore that, well, you hurt my feelings, so I'm going to hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
What I should have done a long time ago was walked away. It's not my job to fix her. We had kids together. I tried to hang on tight and prove to her, sort of like Ryan was talking about. Ryan, Ryan hit a lot of points that I can relate to, which was, I was trying to make it work with someone that wasn't going to let me make it work. Not unless it stayed unhealthy. And I was, I can honestly, looking at it now, a lot of the drinking stuff, the struggle stuff was me trying to cope with the fact that I was being alienated in my own home, in the relationship. I didn't know why I was being treated like a second-class citizen in the home.
What and almost. Okay, so don't use those words. Explain it where people who don't understand alienation, who are watching, get what that means when you were being alienated in your own home. What was happening that made you feel that way?
I was being disregarded, and I was being dismissed as a parent, as any sort of authority figure over my children, any sort of a disciplinary, any sort of teacher. I would have moments with my kids where she would interrupt and say, that's not how we're doing it, or that's not how we're parenting, or I don't agree with that. And we do it in front of them. And it got, a lot of times I'd run away and go to the bar. I did. I was losing my mind trying to contain my hurt, which came across as anger, frustration.
Because men, that's the only emotion you guys know how to actually express. It's the first one you go to.
Right. It's
anger.
Yeah, it's by design. And until we learn to grow, obviously humanity is evolving. We're not hunter-gatherers anymore. We are, our role is different as men as we grow in a civilized society. So those instinctual male emotions, if I can do it, anyone can do it. We have to realize that, like you said, anger is a secondary emotion to fear, pain, hurt. So once I allowed myself to just understand that, okay, I'm hurting, I didn't have to go to anger.
No.
Or if I did start to feel angry, I'd call you, or I'd call my mom and say, God help me, I'm starting to get pissed.
And we'd say, reel it back.
Calm down.
Yep.
Woolseye.
Yeah, because that's the part, like that's what I was going to say before we got kind of cut off and you couldn't hear me. Chris was very off-putting to me in the beginning. But what I recognized was he has a great heart and he's a good person. When you get past the hurt and the pain of a person, you can actually see who they are. And that's a gift I have. I have that gift and I recognize it. And I recognize it because of all the people I've worked with. I'm able to speak to Chris in a way where he's like, no, I want to speak. I want to speak. And I'm like, well, hold on. Is that where your gift is? And he hears me because he knows that now I'm hitting straight to his heart. When Chris wants to post and say things on, line that because of his frustration, we have to recognize that when you are fighting for fatherhood, frustration is a real emotion. Anger, that's a real emotion. And so because we have access to social media and we can get our message out with a heartbeat, that's the first place we want to go and vent. And it doesn't always work well for those who are fighting for their fatherhood to go to social media and post. There are new laws that say that you can, but a lot of people are still trying to silence a man's voice on social media. What do you say, Chris, about fighting for fatherhood via social media?
I advocate for any well-intentioned, healthy person to speak truth. Unfortunately, the laws that you speak of, one, they're actually not constitutional laws, and they are abusive laws. They're abuse, they're overreach. It's no surprise about my education that's taken place as far as not only psychology and why I feel the way I feel, but how did all that happen? And these laws that are in place are meant to punish men who speak out on purpose, because they're doing things in the courts that are immoral, unethical, illegal. Just because you put a law over top of the Constitution and say it's a law doesn't mean it's okay. Lawmakers are abusive. We know that. We see it. It's not propaganda. Our government is a mess. They are disgusting. Not all of them. Police officers are a mess. Not all of them. There's a mixed bag. And unfortunately, for the good of the government and for the good of the police unions and for the good of the judicial system, they protect each other so they all don't crumble. And that is an unfortunate side effect of immunity. It's an unfortunate side effect of authoritarianism. We do not live in the free society that we claim, and those that we put in office don't actually work for us. Doesn't mean that some aren't trying, but they're being held, they're being oppressed and held down by those who are really pulling the strings. This is not propaganda. Millions of disenfranchised parents know this to be true. We are living in a twilight zone of reality and told that we are crazy.
Yes.
I'm not crazy, and you're not crazy. You're a psychotherapist.
I'm done.
A Ghostbuster.
I'm not a psychotherapist either. Stop saying that on here. Ashley said, fighting for fatherhood for my husband has been 3 years of false allegations and insinuations with no evidence even offered. That's one of those issues. Hold on.
Let's talk about.
Yeah. So hold on. It has meant him being the target of domestic violence during custody exchanges and being completely blocked off from any justice or assistance for him or his son. It has meant taking 2 years to get his name and his son's birth certificate, his name on his son's birth certificate, 3 years of heartache and 3 years of frustration. So let's pick that one apart. I think that's a good one to really, although the other one was too, but there's a lot of layers in this particular one. that we can deal with. So let's go to the false allegations. One of the things that people need to know is that 70% of allegations of abuse or any type of domestic violence that's made during a custody battle, 70% of them are proven to be false. Right. So you guys come with this whole, but what if he is, and that, unfortunately, the courts have to err on the side of caution. And so the person who takes all of the blame and all of the fault is the one who's on the end of receiving the false allegation. So they're then blocked from their children. TPOs are put in place that then can be later used against them. To hinder their custody and their parenting time, create supervised visitation that costs them money. So Chris, did you ever get any false allegations in your case when you first started?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm ready to share that, you know, in court with the same judge that we had for that allegation. It's absolutely ridiculous that I'm 2 years, almost a year and a half, from dealing with custody for no reason, no proven reason. That this things like false allegations are tactics. They're used by attorneys to create litigation. They're also used as deterrents, and they're also used to set up parents where you know, the system makes money off guardian ad litems. They make money off visitation centers. You know, some of these parents who haven't done anything have to go to these visitation centers and pay to go visit their kids in this supervised situation, not in the home. It's very much like a prison visit. And they're like, oh, well, there's toys over there and juice boxes in the fridge, but it's not your home. And you got creepy Uncle Fester over there, whatever her name or his name is, like staring at you, and you have not done it. You essentially are a criminal in a family court without being charged for anything. And people are losing their minds. I know, because I lost mine. I had to go find it.
Yeah, and let me talk about the false allegations, because people act like they're not real. This isn't a thing that's happening to men. Oh, but you know, she didn't file a police report before, but he was abusing her. I get it, but we have to recognize that the statistics concerning domestic violence, I want to touch just really quickly, the numbers are almost even. When I mean the numbers, I'm talking about women abusing men and men abusing women. 1 in 4 for women abusing men abusing women, and 1 in 5 for women abusing men. The numbers are very close, people. So when you make it like only men are creating domestic violence situations, it is a fallacy and it is false. So when it comes to false allegations in these custody matters, they are typically called or coined the phrase silver bullet. The silver bullet is literally for what? A werewolf. We thought vampires, right? And what do you do when you shoot a vampire or werewolf with a silver bullet? You kill it. The goal of the false allegation is to kill the man from having any access to his child. So if you say that the child was molested, you say that he beat you and the children, when you say he's on drugs, when you say, I just don't feel safe, and you know that it's a lie, the intention of the parent is to kill his role as a father in this child's life, where he will get nothing, because the judge in that moment, you're hoping, will always look at him sideways and never give him full access to the children. So I want to say that. I want to go back to this statement that she posed. So then this whole place of there was no evidence in the false allegation. Chris, did you ever, like, what happened? What did she ever proof up? Did she ever create any evidence, or what happened?
I do want to admit some of my stupidity in the situation, and my dad pointed it out to me that, you know, why did you stay with her? We reconciled after the false allegation. So the false allegation came out because we broke up, and I did not see or speak to my then one child for almost 7 weeks. After I had been texting and saying, hey, look, if we're done, we're done. You know, and I didn't mean that, but in a way I was just like, at least let me see my kid. Like, let's work out a schedule. So it was a power control thing. And I said, look, I don't want to do this in court. Can we just talk? And I got ignored. And so I filed for custody, a custody hearing. I didn't file for full custody.
Yeah.
There was no intent of stealing the kids from her. It was for a custody hearing to sort out a custody parenting schedule. And 6 days later, and I have both pieces of paper for court, when we go to court, that shows that false allegations, a 50B or a domestic violence order was placed on me, a restraining order, with allegations like I said I was going to steal my kid, take him away, and go to Tennessee. And the other one said I yell a lot. So, right. So I probably did yell a lot. And she was probably mistreating me as well. So we were both not very nice to each other. Never have I ever been physical. In fact, she has been. But, you know, as men, unless for the most part, you know, I got hit a couple times. It didn't hurt. Well, you know, she snatched the baby out of my arms before, which kind of frightened me a little bit. She pried my son out of my hands, which was a little, you know, I ignored a lot of red flag behavior, and then I started creating my own bad behavior in response. And when I say that, it meant that I participated in arguments that were crazy, toxic, just roundabout. He said, she said, saying hurtful words, and then doing stupid things like drinking and driving. You know, I was spinning. I was spinning. A lot of the behavior was absurd to me, and I didn't respond to it as well as I should have. I do now. Now that I'm removed from it, and I did that work. I did that work going, Chris, what can you can't fix that situation or her.
How are you participating? How are you creating the toxic environment for your children? Because you made a statement where, yes, false allegations were made, but then they were dropped somehow, and then you wanted to be a part of your first child's life. And so then you circle back and you get back into a relationship with this young lady.
Yeah, so they were dropped because at the end of the day, you know, the judge stated in the courtroom, hey, if anyone's here for a restraining order or 50B domestic violence order, I want to let you know now that I will hold you in contempt if you make allegations without any evidence whatsoever. You are wasting the court's time. And I was like, oh, snap. That's good. And he happens to be our judge in our custody trial too. So that should hopefully go well. But, you know, so we reconciled. Obviously I'm not dangerous. That wasn't the point of the domestic violence. It was to control and to manipulate. Right. Keep me at bay. She didn't know what to do about how she was feeling, and she just didn't feel in control of the situation. We got back together.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We got back together, you know, and that was my mistake. That really was my mistake. But, you know, God blessed us with a second child. And so it's okay now. You know, there are no, I don't think there are mistakes. I think bad things happen. We make mistakes, and those are sort of redirects. And I've been able to definitely grow from those things and look at them. And I'm able to, I have something to give my kids now, because I didn't choose to sit in those bad decisions, in that cycle of behavior, on that hamster wheel. I looked at my behavior. I recognized it. I was on my knees pretty much saying, you know, God, I'll do anything to make this okay. And it started with me, and I haven't been able to make her okay or her happy with me or whatever, but I'm healthier for my kids.
Right.
I'm healthier for me. I've done a lot of good since then. And I'm growing, and it's okay. You know, the biggest thing I would say for anybody who's in a bad cycle due to what's going on is hop off that hamster wheel for a little while and spend some time with yourself. Like, put it all down and fix this and this, and so you have the strength to fight the right way. You know, a year ago I could
do you see that comment?
No, no, I gotta look. Okay, what was it? From Ashley?
No.
So my phone's on a delay from the live feed, so
I got
it's coming like 10 seconds late.
No, you're fine.
So you'll read. What was it?
I can't read that out loud.
Oh.
You see it?
The personal work is important?
No, it's above that. It says Cash Jackson.
Oh. It says Cash?
It does, but I don't believe it is.
Oh.
You notice that?
Oh, so there is is it bad words?
Uh-huh.
Oh, there is a Cash Jackson fake. Someone made it has a profile picture?
No, it doesn't. That's why I knew that.
So there's a crazy loser face who, speaking of, needs mental health reconstruction from a physiologist. He stalks Cash's page. I'm an admin on Cash's page.
No. I knew that when I saw it. I just wanted you to see it before I blocked it and delete the comment.
I couldn't see it, but I'll see it later.
No. I deleted it. I'm out because I'm not doing it. I knew it wasn't Cash because Cash has actual pictures.
Yeah. No, this guy messaged Cash, Cash Jackson profile with no information, no photo. And we have these sicko people, and some of them could be our exes or our exes' friends. And this is the sort of mental health issues
that's what I deleted it, guys. I don't think it should be on here. I'm sorry, I did delete it. I don't even want to get into it because I think it distracts. I don't do trolls in specific moments like this. But that's the other part that I wanted to point it out to him so he could see it. I knew it wasn't Cash. I know Cash well enough to know. He was on the last conversation I just had anyway. Mark and Andre are saying they can't see it. Good, you can't see it now. But the person actually called us effing losers. That's what he called us, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I want you to recognize that when you're having conversations about fatherhood and when men are expressing how they feel, they are antagonized on social media. They are like, you're a loser, pay your child support, stop whining, you're a deadbeat, you just won't admit it. That's where we are in this space. So Chris, I want you to talk about where you went mentally in the midst of this battle, where you went emotionally in the midst of this battle. Because, and I don't want you to say anything that's going to get you in trouble in court, but I want you to recognize, I want people to see, he said, would the real Cash Jackson please stand up? We knew it wasn't.
That was me.
We knew it wasn't
That
you.
was me.
Oh, that was you. Okay. I'm like, we knew it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
just so people know, that was really Cash's page.
Yeah, his page has a picture. So what did you go through emotionally and mentally as you navigated this whole court thing?
Fear was first.
Mm-hmm. Of what? Fear of what?
Fear of my mistakes being used against me. System that is broken and corrupt. And I will say in this camera, the system is broken and corrupt. I know it is.
Yeah.
I absolutely witness it. I live it. Millions of other people do, and we're going to expose it. But yeah, fear of that, fear of losing my kids because I made an emotional mistake, and that was drinking and driving. I was so hurt that it's not that I didn't care. I didn't want to feel that anymore. And I didn't know I didn't know another way.
So you had a coping mechanism of drinking. and then you begin
Yeah.
to drive. And his coping mechanism, I'm sure that started before, but it was elevated in this moment and in this season. Yeah.
Yeah. It became a crutch, and
Yeah.
it became a go-to.
Yeah. So the fear of losing your children, the fear of battling this court, did you ever fall into depression?
Sure.
And how much?
Scary depression, like never felt it before. Never felt more hopeless in my entire life.
Yeah. And the question, how do you feel about everything that you've lost? Because you've lost like many men. I remember when I was here in Fort Lauderdale early on, there's a man who is homeless and he stands out on the road, and his sign isn't "I work for food." His sign that he holds up says, "My ex-wife had a better lawyer than I did."
Right.
I've had to pull over and give, like at the light, I gave him some money with the window cracked, but I slid it out the couple dollars, because that's an amazing sign to be able to say he's homeless because he didn't have enough money. He didn't have the right lawyer. He didn't have the right strategy, whatever that is. How has this caused you to lose everything?
So I went from the financially stable one to just as broke, if not more broke than her. Plus losing my kids to be demoted to a visitor, without grounds, without being charged with anything, without it's just a litigation delay process, where I sort of could, I'll honestly say that I disagree with the judge at the temporary hearing, because we had it continued, that he only gave me every other weekend in the meantime, without recognizing that I hadn't done anything to not have at least a schedule that I got to see my kids as much as I was able to do. He never asked me. Part of that was because we were supposed to have the hearing another month later. And we won't get into it too much, but my attorney at the time felt the need to extort me for another $10,000 in that moment. All because we had a continuance. Now, if that isn't immoral and unethical and illegal, I don't know what is. And that goes with that immunity and that arrogance of some of these attorneys, that thinks that, hey, look, your life is lost without me, so you're going to pay me, or you're not going to see your kids. And that's what we deal with.
Well, they feel like they need to be paid for their time, and they did show up to court to have it continued. And that's
I did more paralegal work and preparation for my case and paid $10,000.
And and I'm not to diminish what Chris has paid, but I can tell you I have clients now who are bankrupt, stripped of everything, and they've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. These men, and this is the other part that I want women to be able to connect with, and those who are watching, because there's something that I'm about to do in the next month that will help people really see it from the male's perspective. Can't give it away because it's not launched yet. But this place of, I'm bankrupt, I've lost everything, and I'm fighting for my children, but you then expect them to keep the same six-figure job that they had before going through this? Like you expect them to still operate at this level up here when their heart is broken, because as we learned in the last Facebook Live, they're not only fighting for their children, they're fighting for their livelihood. And then they recognize that the system is corrupt. And so then they begin to fight the system. How do you expect that? So women make statements like, oh, he quit his job, or child support says things like, you have the potential to make this. How do you operate potential when you're depressed?
That whole potential thing, that's not even a law. That is just a judge's discretion. That's not, it's just like the every other weekend, every Wednesday for dinner, misconception. These aren't laws, people. These are propaganda. It's an indoctrination
culture, because no, standard visitation doesn't have to be a thing. It's become a thing because of the culture. And, you know,
and
I am not against attorneys. I'm not against judges. I'm against bad attorneys and I'm against bad judges, right?
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
That's where I'm at as a person. So if I discover that an attorney that I'm working with is not quite the kind I'm trying to work with, then we deuce them out and keep it moving. Because there's some that I work with for the first time and I have to find out how good they are and all of that. But I can recognize that there are some amazing attorneys that have a heart for this. They do it. They do a lot of pro bono work and we move on. So Chris, you've gone through depression. You've lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
How then do you continue this fight for fatherhood then? Because you do see your children every other weekend. I want people to know that because some people haven't seen them for 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Chris does have access, but he still feels this alienation because it's only 6 days a month. When he should have the whole summer, he should have other things to make up for that time. But people finagle things and it doesn't work out quite that way. So where are you? Like, where are you in this fight and how do you continue this fight?
How?
Yeah.
Because I know it's not right. Period. I don't need any more explanation than that. And a judge doesn't deserve it, and a lawyer doesn't deserve it. What they're doing is evil. Period. And if you want me to elaborate, I will, but period.
No, I don't need you to elaborate. I know you.
It's wrong. It's wrong and it's evil. Period.
Yeah.
And as hopeless as I was, I know what it felt like.
Do you know Jimmy?
Oh, I lost your audio again.
You did?
I'm going to sign out and do this one more time.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jimmy, you're bold enough to come on here and have that statement. So we're going to be bold enough to handle you today and have this conversation because people make a lot of decisions in the midst of feeling what they feel. And you've made a lot of decisions yourself. And that's why I have a very hard time. I have a very hard time when the mistakes a father makes deems him unfit to have any relationship with his children. Many fathers. So Jimmy Hodge, you know that name?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. So he's on here. Hold on. He's on here and he wanted to comment. So let's go ahead and comment.
Sure.
And we're going to handle this professionally and maturely. We knew you guys were on here. We're not oblivious. And I'm not who she thinks I am. So be very clear. Don't, it's not a good idea. So let's have a real conversation. So Jimmy said your emotional mistake, let's go ahead and put it up here. Your emotional mistake was your DUI. So you're begging for an abortion and running away for 2 years after you found out that you were having a child is okay. So let's have the conversation. Jimmy, do you have this side of the story or are you only hearing her side of the story? Because I would love to talk to her. She can call me at any time.
Absolutely.
She knows who I am. My number is on the internet. So she knows who I am well enough to make a comment. She can call me anytime.
Please do.
What I do is very clear. And I'm not trying to, and please don't try to act like I'm his attorney. Don't do that because that's not who I am. So let's go. You talked about the DUI. You were very clear that you were dealing with some emotional things in the relationship.
Yes.
Elaborate on that while he's trying to make that a thing. How many people make those bad decisions in those moments of trauma and feeling helpless and hopeless?
Well, we can talk about, I can talk about me, but I can also, without starting an argument, ask Jimmy if he's got a DUI.
How about that, Jimmy?
And ask Jimmy if he would have had a second one, but Brittany told me he crashed into a guardrail and drove off, so he didn't get caught for that second one. So we all make mistakes there, Jimbo. So I'm admitting mine. Do you want to do this? And I'm comfortable with it.
Not on Facebook Live. You should not want to do this, Jimmy. So let's go begging for an abortion. Let's go to the abortion thing.
Sure.
I don't even want you to admit that. I don't even want you to admit any of that. What I want to say to Jimmy, I'm going to handle that. Jimmy, a lot of men do that, and they do that out of fear. And they do that out because they are cowards at the time. But there comes a point where they have to man up and figure it out. And clearly, he has manned up and figured it out. No parent is a perfect parent. no person gets it right, but does it mean that we have the right to cancel someone out of their children's lives? It doesn't. And so it's not fair for you, because I'm telling you, I can show you the inbox where we knew you'd be on here. Like, we knew you'd be on here. And I'm grateful that you were bold enough to make a comment. So let's go to running away for 2 years after you found out that you were having a child. The child doesn't take 2 years to get here. So let's go there. So
yeah, let's talk about that. Because
what did you do?
It seems to me that Jimmy might not.
Yes,
Jimmy might. Huh?
No, my husband just put on here, it's easier to point fingers at others, and he put Jimmy want more. So he's telling us, remember that song on what is the song? Dreamgirls, Jimmy want mo? You want mo?
Oh.
We can give you mo.
Yeah.
We can give you more.
So it sounds to me like what a lot of people told me, which is Brittany might be playing me and Jimmy together and lying to both of us and pretending like we're both pieces of crap. Because I have text messages from your current girlfriend that say what a drunken mess you are. And we haven't spoken about that. I mind my own business, Jimmy. I worry about Brittany and my kids and my situation. If you'd like to have a conversation, we can talk truth, but I'm not interested in threats, violence, intimidation.
Like the text message you sent last weekend.
What's that? Yeah, like you sort of did.
We're very clear that Jimmy sent a text message trying to egg Chris on last week to start a fight.
I didn't fight.
It didn't happen. That's a tactic, Jimmy. We're not slow.
No, we're not.
On this aren't slow either. So you should.
And I also
put that in writing and then come on here.
So, and that's cool. Maybe this will be a good thing. Maybe if he's open-minded and he wants to hear the truth, I'm willing to talk as a grown-up. In regards to, it sounds to me like Brittany told the story how she needed to do it to manipulate Jimmy. And she may have done that. Jimmy may be a better guy than I know, but she talked about him like he was trash too. So, so I'll give Jimmy the benefit of the doubt, and Jimmy, we can talk transparently. As far as the abortion comment, when Brittany got pregnant, we had been dating for a little while, and her behavior was very questionable. She also disappeared for a couple weeks. I didn't hear from her. I didn't believe it was even my child because of the behavior that I was dealing with. When she told me she was pregnant, first time I ever got a girl pregnant, and with it being what I was dealing with in that moment in our relationship, which had just started, I was like, well, we can't have a kid because neither one of us is worth a shit. Neither one of us is stable.
Because you were drinking and doing things prior that made you question all of that.
Absolutely. And so I can admit that was my first thought, and it's probably the only thing that I regret in my life. But I didn't know. And when we had our second child, I was not, other than being surprised that he was born on birth control as well. I was like, all right, cool. And I am now totally against abortions in most cases. So I learned.
And that's what people do. Because how old were you when this all took place?
I was old. I mean, I was 29. I was living the life of a 22-year-old, and I was pushing 30. I was playing music, and I was, besides being with her, I was single the whole time and living the life of dysfunction and youth with no real tie downs.
And Jimmy, I don't know if you were on here, but Chris, before you even got to this, Chris admitted to all of his wrongs. Chris admitted that he made a lot of mistakes. So I don't know why you want to, bring them up and keep putting them up. But this is where Jimmy wants to go now. Chris does not see his kids every other weekend. He has made so many excuses when it comes to his time. But what about last week when it was supposed to be his day? You guys were trying to give him part-time. Father's Day belongs to him, period. But let's not go there. Have the text to prove this as well. And I have other text messages. He has put his father's rights movement ahead to his children, I think many times. Seems strange that someone would be so far from for their rights to be a dad and choose not to be. So what do you say to that? Because I see your children with you. And I know during COVID, there was a point where you had them quite often.
Oh, I was getting them all the time as long as she wanted me to.
You needed a babysitter. Yeah. And he got them most times when she offered that opportunity outside of his rotation. So Jimmy,
I have not missed a weekend at all.
So Jimmy, I'm not really sure what you're talking about because I'm on the phone with him at times. We've had attorneys on the phone with him at times. I've seen videos, like I'm FaceTiming him. So you gotta come clearer than that, sir.
Right. And
Ashley, Jimmy is Chris's ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend.
Live-in boyfriend. Jimmy moved in only months after I was gone.
So he's not really just controlled, Ashley. He is attempting to tell the other side without really, he doesn't know Chris's side. So I'm willing to stay on here until everybody get their side out right now, because I ain't never had this moment. And I'm a professional, but I think it's a good point and a good moment where Jimmy is going to say that Chris doesn't see his kids every other weekend. So Jimmy, let me ask you, how often does Chris see his children according to you? Because I know right now, Jimmy feels like he's daddy, is what he said.
Well, from what his ex tells me, Jimmy didn't want to see his kids any more than every other weekend. He agreed to it, and he doesn't pay child support. So let's talk about that.
Ashley says, Ashley puts here, Jimmy is a mindless troll who buys the one-sided propaganda they are fed by the perpetual victim who chooses not to work on or fix themselves. Jimmy needs to wake up or stay in bed. Okay. Then Ashley comes back and says, yeah, I already gathered that, but he's buying that propaganda. If anyone wants to tell the other side, it needs to come straight from her and not her boyfriend. Amen to that, Ashley.
Tell Brittany to get on, because honestly, Jim, you have nothing to do with this, brother.
I know, and that's what's making this so bad right now. Because I know individuals who are now in this movement, Chris, who have come to me and they said, you know what? She told me a story about her other children's fathers, and I adopted them as my own, and I became this and that to them. And then guess what? They had a child with her, and now they're experiencing the same story that they were told. And so we have to be careful. Like I said, I'm totally open when mothers want to get on the phone and talk to me. I'm totally
absolutely.
And while we're talking about fighting for fatherhood, this is part of the fight that fathers have when it comes to their fatherhood. So I'm okay with it happening on here as long as everybody stays respectful. As long as everyone stays respectful, I'm fine having it on here, because part of the fight for fatherhood is when the other person moves on. I don't know why a person feels like it's their right to step in. You're not even married to the person, and you're stepping in this way.
Hey,
I would deadbeat dads. I'm not for dads who don't look. People don't like me for this, Chris, and you know it. If you got a child support order, you got to pay it. And Chris is like, ugh. But
honestly, I know I know the child support system. I know what it is. And I've paid, I can prove how much I've paid, how much I've overpaid, how many, I took out a $10,000 loan to keep up with it until my custody trial, which got postponed after I spent $20,000 on lawyers. So your, misconception of your narrative is false. And either you believe the stuff that you're saying, Jimmy, and you've been misled, or you're lying also. It's one of the two or a combination of the two. And I'm very public because I'm very transparent. I think it's important. It's part of my growth. I'll admit to my mistakes. Are you ready? You both. Really, Jimmy, you don't have to be on here. Brittany is welcome to have this conversation. And I can, Brittany can have this conversation with Dr. Torri privately. I don't care. Any line of communication that would benefit me and my children and her and our children, I am 100% for. So if I need to correct your facts, then I will, and I can prove them in a court, but I'm happy to prove them on here.
It is disheartening that when we're fighting for fatherhood, we have to fight people who have nothing to do with the scenario.
Right. Well, they're sort of like Jimmy was the man brought in to protect against me, the evil boyfriend thing. I know the psychology. You've taught me a lot of it. I know about the alienation tactics. I know about fatherless daughter syndrome. I know about all, I know how these minds work. One, because I used to think wrongly, incorrectly, and I'm living it. And I also don't respond to it anymore because I know it has nowhere to go. So I'm happy that Jimmy came on here. I hope this becomes a good thing.
Relationships, I heard you, Chris, and I heard that heart moment. Because relationships should not then create barriers to people getting to their children because you get to hear a side of the story that maybe is their version or their perspective. I'm not even going to call it a lie, but you have to recognize that there's another side of that story. And it doesn't mean that either person is a bad person. It doesn't mean that Chris or even his ex, I don't even want to say her name on here. That's between you guys. But it doesn't make her a bad person. It makes them two people who could not make it work in a relationship, but now they have to make it work for their children. And it's crazy to put all of these barriers in the way when he's not a bad father. He's not a bad person. And
I made mistakes.
Look, wait a minute. Mama Judy's on here. See, now Chris's mother's on here. I love me Mama Judy, okay?
This got interesting quick.
Yes, it did. So now Chris's mother's on here and she says, how often do you see your children and how much child support do you pay? That's what Judy wants to know, Jimmy.
Right.
You can't come on here and throw a stone, throw a rock, and you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, what's the scripture? You focused on the speck in somebody else's eye, but you got a whole beam in your own. And I don't know your child support situation. But once again, why would anyone do this when they're also on the other end fighting for their fatherhood? Because they might have been told a story. And maybe Jimmy feels like this is a redemptive moment for him in order to have time with your children when he can't have much with his own. I don't know his story.
Hey, and if there's been untruths told about Jimmy and Jimmy struggling emotionally with alcohol, and I know what all that feels like, Jimmy. I'm not condemning you for it, but I am going to protect my children over the behavior because it wasn't right for me. And no offense, buddy, but it damn sure ain't right for you because those are my babies.
Come on, somebody. If I got unclean, then you for darn sure can't be in my children's life unclean. It's not going to happen.
Right. And here's the deal, and I don't want to call out his ex, but God's creating this moment for a reason. I'm gonna run with it. But Jimmy's ex-wife reached out to me, and he's not a model father, not even close to me. In comparison, and I don't know that she's telling me the truth. I suspect that she is based on things that I've seen, but I could be wrong, and I actually prefer that she be lying and you're a better man that lives at my kid's house. I hope you're a better man than she says you are. Because Brittany didn't have good words for you either when you guys dated temporarily, and she got back with me because you were a hot mess. So it sounds like Brittany, either we're all hot messes and we need to start talking the truth and getting to be healthier people and quit lying, because my kids will not suffer for unwilling adults not growing up. I can tell you that.
So wait, he's still on here. He says, I'm not the one who's not paying. Look it up. I'm not the one who owes over $2,000 or who's $2,000 behind. So let's have this conversation, Jimmy. Number one, I'm going to have this conversation partially for Chris because I do know the answer. The calculation that was only supposed to be temporarily, which he was getting into, was a miscalculation of, oh, she's on here. So Brittany jumped on. So it's a miscalculation of how much money he actually made, right? And so in the money that he actually made, it was only supposed to be temporarily. So now he hasn't been able to keep up with that because he didn't have the jobs singing that people said that he had. He had some of those, right, but not all of them. And now COVID is hit, and this was only supposed to be a temporary order. A lot of child support is only temporary, but it gets hashed out throughout the custody process. It did not get it didn't get printed, it didn't get painted the proper way. I'm sorry, it didn't get handled the proper way because it's gone out so long. So he's still on a temporary child support order that is much higher than it should be. He said, I don't jump from job to job to avoid child support. Hold on. If you really talked to my ex, she would have told you, because I have paid child support even before I was court ordered to. I support my children. The judge commended me for that, and I was still racked through the system too. I went for 50-50. She refused that, not me.
Okay. Well, guess
let's
what?
Go with Jimmy, and then Brittany. Chris has never painted a beautiful picture for us. I'm so sorry, my love. At least not for me. And so I'm a screw up. Because I can't believe this is happening today, but okay. He never painted a picture for me. He never. And in the moments that he might have tried, or some of the harsh things that he said, I'm the kind of person, and Mama Judy can vouch for it, because we were on a three-way. I was like, hold up. No. This is how this has to go. And so you've got to be very clear. There is no beautiful picture being painted. You're afraid that that's what he's doing, because then it doesn't paint you in such a beautiful light. He's not one time said anything negative to me about you. Not
well. Here's the thing too. Is I've stepped up my game, and I'm going to pat myself on the back, because I've been a hot mess and I made mistakes. Nothing to deserve what Brittany is doing. However, I think that it frustrates her. I could be wrong. I think it frustrates her to know that I'm persevering and I'm getting stronger, and that I'm moving on in a way that I'm going to advocate for my kids, and I'm going to work on being happy, because I was miserable for a while. I didn't want to live there no more.
So let me ask you, are you avoiding jobs?
For the last 3 months?
No, let's go into the last year. What did your job situation look like? Let's just go there, since he's saying you avoid paying child support.
Avoiding jobs. So when child support was when Brittany and I split, and she wanted, I was voluntarily paying $200 a week. That wasn't enough, because she knew I was making so much more money, and I was ripping her off.
So Jimmy's wrong that you weren't covering anything beforehand. And wait, does Brittany work? Does Brittany have a job?
Yeah, we can look at Brittany's tax returns and her jobs. Brittany's had way more jobs than me. If we want to do all this,
Brittany, are you currently working? Like, and we're talking about Chris jumping around the jobs, and I look at the child support stuff so I can pass it on to our attorneys that we work with, and I'm missing something here. So Chris,
yeah,
how many jobs have you had in the last year? And what were those jobs? Let me ask.
So right before, if I go backwards, because it's easier to remember. So obviously, I've always been a musician. So I do that whenever and how often I can. As far as a W-2 employee, right before COVID, I was working at The Verdict, and I just started that week, and I was working at my dad's. So I was working 40 hours between two jobs and picking up gigs if I could. But being here in North Carolina, the gigs weren't as plentiful as in Nashville.
Yeah.
So before that, during this whole custody, if I go further back from there, during this whole custody process, which has taken, a year and a half at this point, for 8 months, I stayed in Nashville because I was able to earn more money playing music, and Brittany was only allowing me every other weekend. So I tried to make the most I could up until I moved back here, which was August of last year when we had our hearing, I was paying child support, mostly from a $10,000 loan that I took out before my credit went to hell. So I took out $10,000 to maintain a $1,400 a month child support while making $2,500 a month and living on a couch.
So his child support order is $1,400 a month. 14. Okay.
And how much did she work?
1,400. And how much did you make a month, Chris?
I averaged, we did a spreadsheet, like realistically a spreadsheet, and I have my taxes done, but I was averaging about $2,500 a month.
She's saying you haven't paid any child support in over a year, aside from 2 purge payments, stay out of jail, and not even $50 a month. Well, I know that's not true because
right. So, but you see how her mind works.
I've been present for a couple of situations where I've talked to Chris about how he navigates this, especially during COVID. You got taxes, you also got the stimulus money, like
my tax,
and he's not working.
Got a purge payment in December, so she's gotten almost $2,000 since December of last year. So 7 months, she's gotten $2,000. But
it's $1,400, and that's what the issue is, right? So how then?
No, now it's $1,150 because our attorneys were nice enough to negotiate a lower amount and get me to agree to it without actually using true income information. Because my attorney told me that child support was a moot point and we would get it where it needs to be once we worked out custody. So my attorney playing games.
No. That's what people don't know, that the other side of the story is, yes, Brittany, you want to say that the child support is permanent. That's what it's going to be. But he was told, let's just settle for this until we get the custody worked out, because custody then will begin to maneuver and shape some things because of overnight. Right. And so that's part of the conversation that's being had with the non-custodial parent. So you've got to recognize that 2 different conversations are happening. He chose not to see his kids on Father's Day. No. You tried to manipulate the situation. I saw the text message.
And I backed out it.
I can't do this today. If you're not going to, you wanted him to see the kids only for a few hours when Father's Day is always the Father's Day.
And the weekend.
So don't do that. It's half true to get the people in situations. That's the issue. So I'm sorry, Brittany. I know a little more than you know. And yes, Mama Judy's on here saying, which her attorney has constantly filed for leave of absences, continuances, because her attorney sucks. And what the attorney was a strategy. And Brittany, you're being used, my love. You're being used to drain the money that could be going to your children. Fathers have to make one decision sometimes. It's to work and pay child support or spend time with their children. And I know there was one weekend where he was going to the beach to make money, and his goal was to take the children with him. And you were making it difficult. And I think it finally happened. But Chris was struggling because he was like, I can get some money to pay child support. What do I do? And I was like, you're going to have to go. And thank God she said yes eventually, and it worked out. But I knew he had to go because fathers they get to make one decision: pay child support or see their children. And my ladies, we've got to be more graceful. We have to have grace even when we're pissed, even when we're bitter. Let's say Chris doesn't show up for some of his visitation time and his parenting time, because I don't call it visitation, his parenting time. Brittany, have you ever thought that it was because he was trying to feed not only himself, but your children while they were in his care? Did you ever think that? A few hours of Father's Day, as well as 2 extra overnights. I never saw that in that text. I never saw that text, Brittany, and he chopped it up.
Yeah, it was pick 'em up Tuesday. So I got him Sunday. I think it said Sunday at 3. And then keep him on Monday because apparently she either had something to do going out of town, whatever she wanted to do, or she was working. I'm not sure. But it was literally for a day and a half.
This is how we think as women. She said
Yeah.
there are numerous jobs in our area. I have pictures of now hiring signs. So you're assuming that he's going to get those jobs. You're assuming that if any job he applies for, he's going to get. And she said, hell no, because he doesn't pay. So the bottom line is
it's about money.
And you just put it on here.
Yeah. You're not helping yourself, Brittany.
They don't go together, Brittany.
You're not helping yourself.
Man doesn't pay his full child support. I'm looking at a man who's not a deadbeat. I'm looking at a man that I know for a fact is dead broke, Brittany. He's dead broke. And he has looked for jobs. And unfortunately, when COVID hit, I know what we were working on together. I know what Chris and I were working on concerning his employment. But when COVID hit, I had to talk to him about singing and making his money and figuring out a different way. So the fact that you would come on here, if he applied, he could get, you don't know that. You're making an assumption that he didn't apply for any of those jobs, which I think is very unfair for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, let me see. Ashley says child support and parenting time are separate issues. That is extortion. That money doesn't provide all the things your children need. You have another woman on here telling you, Brittany, this is not right.
Yeah, you entered the lion's den on this one, Brittany. You might want to exit.
On here with this mentality.
Sick.
I'm a child who grew up without her father, and I'm not whoever you think I am. You need to be very clear on who I never kept him from his children. He has money to travel, and you can't even pay $10 a month. That's not truth. That's not truth.
No.
That's not truth.
First of all, why is she all I hear is money, money, money. I don't hear I give him equal access and co-parenting time with him or discuss medical or school things with him. None of that.
Hold on. Jimmy's saying I drove almost 2 hours to see my children for only 30 to 45 minutes. I would do anything for them. That's not a good. Sorry. I've worked 2 jobs to pay my child support too. Work is out there. There's no excuse.
Well, here's the deal. We can pull up Jimmy's if Jimmy wants to keep jumping in. Honestly, Jimmy, you don't belong here. You really don't. Respectfully, you and Brittany have a relationship now. You and me don't. So, if you want to talk, we can talk.
Well, Brittany, hold on. And Brittany's saying because child support has been your main issue, main cause here. Number one, not on this page is his main cause. Not on this page. That's why I know he posted things. Hold on. I know Chris has posted things about child support on his page. I get it. But today,
I know
about how you fight for fatherhood and fighting and why he's fighting for his fatherhood. He admitted the breakdown and the challenges that he saw in his family growing up and how that trickled into his adult life. You guys want to come on here at the last minute. Let's pull up child support then. We already know he's behind in his child support. We know why he's behind in his child support.
Right. You know why.
$100 a month for someone who only makes $25, let's even say $3,000 a month. Where does he live? What does he eat? What does he provide for his children when they're in his care?
Now both parents are poor because one sucks off the other. And now both of our kids don't get to have financial strength.
Because Brittany doesn't even have a job half the time. That's why you're on the child support order. You have 0 in the spot that brings in your income, my love. So then we got a mother who doesn't have a job, but is demanding that the man have a job to provide all of this.
She's on welfare.
Come on, Brittany. My husband says this. This is important to say. Please understand that a father needs to be in the kids' lives. And when we don't, we are not sane and nothing goes right for us. Jimmy, I have driven 14 hours just to see mine for dinner with my daughter. Exactly. My husband had to drive to Tulsa to see his daughter. So I don't know what this is like.
I drove back and forth from Nashville, Tennessee to make a living and see my kids every other weekend.
And your mother posted that.
If you want to keep comparing, and I don't even know that you're telling the truth because your ex-wife tells me otherwise. She told me that every bad thing you say about me is how you live. Both of the things that Jimmy and Brittany say about me, they exemplify.
She says, okay, wait. So let's say the kids were granted 50-50. That's what she said. Do you have clothes for them? Do you have beds for them? This is where mothers go wrong. This is where you go wrong, Mom.
Let me financially destroy you and then blame you for...
It's not even that. You're making it about the stuff outside of that. Where do the kids sleep when they come to the house with you? They clearly have a place to sleep because there is a roof over your head. It may not even be his own roof, Brittany, but that's not.
No.
He has a stable home, and that's what the point is.
We can look at it too. We can do a tour.
But Brittany, if you work full time, my love, it doesn't say that on the child support order. So why didn't you report that to child support so that he could have the adjustment? She says, I work full time and I have legitimate medical condition keeping me out of work for time to time. I'm not on welfare. Our children have Medicaid because their father is supposed to provide medical insurance in addition to the $1,200 a month. That's fine. I get it.
You want to explain how Title 4D and Medicaid works and child support?
So that's why his child support is so high, Brittany, because when you put him on Medicaid, Title 4D then comes back to get the money from Chris at a higher rate than he would actually pay out of his pocket.
I'd rather just pay for their insurance.
That high.
How about I make a deal right now? Should I?
I don't know what your deal is, so I don't know.
I am happy to pay half of their insurance, right? Out of pocket. No more Medicaid, no more welfare, no more. It's time to get off welfare, okay? Because welfare is the reason that the courts and child support keep me from my kids. And your lawyer is the reason that you keep me from my kids because he fuels the battle. So why don't we do what's best for our children? Let the family court go fly off, get our kids off welfare and Medicaid. You and me discuss like grown-ups how to pay for things like insurance. You pay for your bills, I'll pay for mine, and we split parenting time, and we also co-parent if there's an adjustment in their lives or ours. That's what real grown-ups do.
So this is what my husband said. Brittany, he will get those things. Just give 50-50. I promise you he will. Your mother then came on and said, our entire family will make sure they're okay. That's what families do.
Just like her family has made sure.
He chose this.
No, I didn't. I chose to end the relationship.
Hold on, Chris. My husband even said, Chris, Torri and I will help you get those things as much as we can. Is that okay, Brittany?
See, I have support, just like you do.
Like she has support. So
You're not doing it on your own.
So she said,
not doing it on her
how
own.
about you show up for court and quit lying? I never thought I would have a day like this. We've been on here way longer. I don't know if he's lied to me about anything, Brittany, because I've never heard anything negative about you. Today is the most I've ever heard. I don't. Messages from Jimmy. I did see a text message concerning Father's Day. I've gotten paperwork because I need to send that to the people who I have working with us to help Chris through this process, attorneys included. But I saw the zero. And so if you're working full time, then you haven't told child support that you're working full time so that adjustment can be made through child support. So that becomes a whole nother issue.
So many issues.
And so she's saying there's a whole slew of issues. Money is the least of it. I have given up on that. The issue is the role model our children are around. You picked him as your mate. Hold on. You picked him as your mate, so now you don't get to disregard him because he's not the perfect role model you wanted.
No, it's because I stopped fighting for her. That's why I'm being punished. I walked away from something that I knew I couldn't fix because I was sober. and I quit.
I need women. It's not just Brittany. I need women to hear my heart. I am married. You see my husband on here. We are having a hell of a time right now.
Yeah.
There's not one person who's perfect. And unfortunately for us as women, and I'm going to talk to Brittany and any other woman on here listening, we have painted this fantasy of what manhood is supposed to be like, especially when we didn't have a father and we didn't have certain types of men in our lives. And I get that we move on and we see bigger and better. And truthfully, as a woman, we're looking for bigger and for better because we're looking for security. And if you don't provide it for us as a woman, we're looking for the next thing that's going to protect us and provide us with the lifestyle that we feel like we deserve. But that doesn't mean that after I move on, I get to cut you out because you're such a horrible person. When I made the decision to date you, have sex with you, and have children with you, that's unfortunately a part of the consequence of those choices that we make as human beings. It's just part of the consequence. And so,
well,
here's
the thing, Dr. Torri. She's throwing out statements that can be disproven. She had a relationship with Jimmy when her and I split, got back with me and told me Jimmy was not a role model for our kids, that he was drunk all the time, that he had anger issues, and he threatened to hurt people. Not that he thought he would hurt the kids in her, but just scary things. I have those text messages. Brittany also...
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Brittany also struggles with mental health issues, drugs, addiction, alcohol, just like me.
Yes, thank you.
Just like me and just like Jimmy, except I have recognized it and I have changed. So
and maybe Jimmy has changed from when she dated him before. Maybe he's not drinking anymore.
Maybe not, but he looks like he is.
The benefit of the doubt too. We can give him the benefit of the doubt, but you shouldn't come on here.
I hope he is. I hope he isn't.
You said what?
I hope he isn't drinking at all, really. But I hope he is healthier. But she told me that he's not healthy. So maybe there's a lot of things that Jimmy doesn't know that Brittany said about him.
And it is what it is. My husband came on again and said, if the kids are in danger, I understand. But if you don't approve of role models, that's not the same thing. Mama, see, this is what happens when mamas come on and the whole family show up. I was not prepared. I was not ready. Jimmy lives with Brittany Ritz. So that's a whole nother conversation.
Jimmy moved in children months after I left. How is every healthy-minded mother that I've spoken to said that's not good?
Hold on. I can't even go to this particular question. She says, wow, those are some bold statements and sound like a bit of defamation. Brittany, you just text a whole bunch of stuff that was said that was how now are you a victim?
Yeah, well, what she does is this is called an abuser. They antagonize and then they play victim and threaten restraining orders and defamation of character. And
the way he was treating his family, his mother included, changed after I became pregnant, I think is what she meant. He may not drink anymore, but he still is the biggest narcissist there is. He does it to our children. He did it to me. There's absolutely no reason my children at ages 7 and 3 should know the term parental alienation.
They didn't learn it from me.
How do we know? Maybe they overheard a conversation. He said, I don't know the answer. And I'm not here to defend that. But those still are not reasons.
Nope.
For him not to have equal access to his children.
Not a single reason. Hasn't named one. In fact,
with the children, Jimmy he's the step parent at this point.
She called him the bonus dad. He's the bonus dad.
The mental abuse he puts is ridiculous. That's misspelled, but that he puts on the children. I heard it from them. Like Daddy said, Mommy just does that to get money from me. No child should have to go through that. It's abuse, no matter how you look at it. So you guys are just pulling at little straws. Okay. So that a father is saying around the children that are inappropriate for children. Okay. Let's have that. Let's go there. That's fine. He shouldn't have said it, but he did.
Hey, You know, it would be great if that actually was true. If we just worked out custody and she lived her little life and I lived mine and we co-parented, we wouldn't have to have any discussion that might accidentally get heard by little ears. If that was the truth, that's just something I'm throwing out there. What if you weren't keeping the kids from me to hurt me for money? Then they would never have by chance heard that term.
These are not, they're facts, Jimmy. Okay, they're your facts. No problem.
Yeah.
But are they facts that proves that he is not worthy to be a father?
Nope.
Are they facts that says that although those are his children, they have his DNA, that he should have limited to no access? I personally haven't seen anything in here that says that.
Does Jimmy have 50-50? And if so, or not, why not?
She refused it, he said. Ashley's perpetual victimhood, and that is the #1 sign of narcissists and sociopaths.
Right, exactly.
That with a lack of understanding and empathy for how you are affecting and traumatizing your own children, Brittany. So let's just go here. Chris has admitted it. We all got some issues and we all need some help.
And I'm sorry for my issues.
And he apologized. The computer was doing something funny when he was literally saying, I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again and maybe it'll work on here. We weren't sure if you were on here or not. We knew that you would eventually be on here. Trust me when I say, we talked about this last night and this morning. We need you to understand that he is apologetic. And he is as sorry as he could possibly be. He has no money left. He has nothing left. So now you have humiliated him and he is now humble. In order to be humble, sometimes God will humiliate us to take us to that place, Brittany. And maybe this was the journey Chris needed to go through to become the man that he is called to be. And I'm not saying that you are supposed to be a part of that journey in this way, but I also recognize that God takes what the enemy meant for our harm and he turns it around for our good. And the good is that he's gotten clean, he's gotten sober. And nope, he's never admitted to me that he's had a perfect relationship with his mother either. So and I've been privy to that. Mama Judy can tell you, we had a conversation about 2 weeks ago without Chris. And I called your mother, Chris, to check on her because I knew you guys were having a moment.
I'm the only one. I'm the only one admitting of the two of us, and we'll include Jimmy, that has said he's made mistakes.
Yes. So she's saying you
Who's
didn't.
the narcissist?
This. When is he planning on being a man? It's just, what does a man look like to you, Brittany? You wouldn't allow me to work or help with the child care while we were together.
I worked 60, 70 hours a week because she didn't work.
My husband then comes back on here and says, you can't control everything. If there's something that you don't like, you two as parents and bonus parents, meaning must talk about it for the better of the child.
Right.
I'm a bonus mother. My husband has a daughter that he was driving 12 to 14 hours away for 18 years of her life to see. So you can't tell me I don't know this. Like, I know this thing. I know this thing. And I know what it's like for a man to feel like they can't see their child. I know what it's like for a man to want to see their child and maybe it's limited. And Jimmy says, I have made mistakes. I'm not perfect. I never said I was either. But you're presenting Jimmy as though you are. And that's what the difference is. And now we're attacking his manhood. When is he going to be a man? What does manhood look like to you, Brittany? What does that look like?
The examples
I think I'm talking over you. I'm sorry, Chris, because I'm passionate. Go ahead, Chris. Handle this. Handle your business. I'm sorry.
No, you're absolutely fine. I mean, you know, it doesn't seem to at this point matter what I say, because they're just spitting the same nonsense that I can disprove. So, you know, we can end this conversation and go about our situation in court, or we can take this opportunity to admit our faults and understand, Brittany, that you do not have the right. I don't care what a court says. I want get screenshot that. I don't care what a court says.
How about the judge sent the letter and said, I would really like for you two to work this out.
Right.
How about
said that. So,
I don't know if she got it in the mail, but I definitely know you got it in the mail.
I love my kids enough to be transparent in my mistakes, to fight for them in a way that I could get in trouble, not for doing anything wrong, but honestly for doing what's right. That's how much I love my kids. You, both of you right now, are either oblivious or lying on purpose to stay in control, and that is fine. That won't last forever. And I would much prefer, I would pray to God that we work this out between us before, I'd rather not do this. I've enjoyed this journey in a way that I'm able to help other parents who are emotionally broken in the moment, because I've been able to get through that. And who knows if I saved anyone's life because they saw strength in me or whatever. I know that what you guys are doing is because you're hurting, and I get it. And I'm sorry you're hurting. And I'm sorry if I ever hurt one of you. I'm sorry. I don't want to do it no more. What are we going to do about it?
So Vishnu says, it doesn't matter if he lives under a bridge. Children love their parents, and presence means more than presence. This is about control and weaponizing children to satisfy a mother's own emotional burdens. These kids will repeat this cycle if not changed ASAP. Unfortunately, Brittany, the conversation that you and Jimmy came on here to have has backfired, because those who are privy to this conversation are seeing the level of control that you are trying to manipulate, in a sense. My husband came on and said, manhood dash definition, fighting for his children. Just my opinion.
Yeah. I don't need to get anyone's approval on being a man from Brittany or Jimmy, because I know what I'm doing is right. And so do a lot of other people, actually. Fathers and mothers who thank me for speaking out, for speaking up, for feeling like the system won't let them talk or they'll get punished. So I don't need lessons from, about manhood from Jimmy, honestly, without saying anything. I'm not trying to insult you, Jimmy, or Brittany, who's A, not a man, B, didn't have an example of a good man. Not trying to insult, but let's be honest. I'm not the perfect man. I wasn't always the best dad. I love my kids very much. I've grown exponentially in the last 2 years, and I've always deserved an equal relationship with my children, despite the toxicity in our relationship.
Here's another point that Brittany seems to think is valid. He attempted to keep me away from my family. He attempted to pull all my friends away. I was completely isolated. Hold on. He was a raging alcoholic. He worked, sure, but on his off time, did he spend time with the children? Nope. He went out all the time, sometimes 2 to 4 days at a time. Then he came home and was angry and yelling and hungover and would make us all be quiet so he could sleep.
2 to 4 days at a time. I worked 5 and 6 days a week.
Yes, Vark, that's in the past.
And that is in the past, even if it was true, which I'm not saying it was, because it's not true. And Brittany still hasn't answered about Jimmy's drinking. Is Jimmy sober?
Wait, now she's saying that's about the last time you'll talk about my deceased father.
When did I?
You're a coward. When we were talking about the I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep up with this. When we were talking about her challenges and why maybe she's navigating this and dealing with this the way that she is.
She's dealing with the situation with pain, and she's pretending like she doesn't have pain.
Or trauma.
And I can't. Yeah, like she's okay, and I'm such this horrible person in the relationship. She's putting 100% of the blame on me, taking no credit for any of the negativity at all, and to justify with a cheerleader, by the way, with a puppy dog.
That's okay. Your mother's
Sorry.
on here. Your mother's on here, and she's got you. So you both have two amazing.
Mom, I got this. I got viewers.
Let your mother stay right where she's at. Nope, she's got it. Nope, you need a cheerleader. It's okay.
Okay.
Because your mother said, "Oh my God, Brittany. Oh my God, what a lie, Brittany." So it's okay. My husband even says he admitted his mistakes. If a person wants forgiveness, they must first forgive. Oh gosh, this one's going to be something. Brittany, it's time to stop living in the past and using it as justification, excuse for your choices and actions. It's time to start healing yourself to be the best mom you can be, which also involves putting your children first and putting your emotions aside. Otherwise, you are further traumatizing your own children. Look.
Yeah.
This is based off of what you've placed on here. This is not the conversation we were going to have today. Part of his conversation was about his story, but a lot of it was just about the work that he's done and what he's learned through that process.
I think she's mad.
You can't say that now, Brittany. She says this is not about our relationship. It's about our children and what we have experienced. No, you've made it about you this entire time, Brittany. So I'm so sorry, but there's like newsfeed proof that you made it about you. Chris, are you frozen? I think Chris is frozen. Hold on. He'll come back in a minute. This is hurt. This is heartbreaking. This is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because you can't see how your actions are creating. Hold on. Hopefully he'll be able to come back in. How your actions are creating even trauma for your children. I wish I asked a question, or who asked a question? What question? Let me see, what question were you answering? Yeah. Facebook isn't real life, and I'm not saying that it is. When I describe me seeing or him with his children, there are times when I'm on the phone and they're there, and I'm on FaceTime or whatever that is. I've seen them there. So I'm not making it about Facebook. I'm personally not. Maybe somebody else is, but I'm not. So, and then you said it's not about the relationship. And Ashley said, you're right, it's not about your relationship. So why are you making it about your past relationships? I'm not here to, like, at the two hour mark, I'm getting off of here. It's my day off and I'm really needing a break. But I'm blessed that the fact that here he's back, that this has happened on here. Even Vishnu says generational recycling is an epidemic in the US.
Right.
What Whitney doesn't realize is, yes, her father is deceased, and we're not disparaging the father. What we're talking about is patterns that we repeat as individuals, and as women, we make choices to pick individuals who are just like our fathers, whether we knew them or not.
And I probably had similarities.
And yes, and you had similarities. And so, Brittany, I need you to go look up attraction deprivation. It'll explain to you how you got with Chris in the first place.
Yeah.
Make sure you
yeah. And there's a reason we picked each other.
Yeah, there's a reason you guys picked each other. And so maybe it wasn't supposed to be work out. Maybe he wasn't your soulmate in your knight in shining armor, but there was a reason you were attracted to him.
We picked each other out of dysfunction.
Yeah, because attraction deprivation is one of the things I love to talk about, because it's like you trying to reenact the relationship you have with your absent or broken parent. And what you do is you try to fix it by changing the ending of the movie.
And let's be honest, Jimmy is just me years ago.
He's not saying that he's like your father. Brittany says you don't hold a candle to her father. He never said that part.
No.
He never said that. You're missing the point. Hold on, I want to go to.
Well, she's driving the narrative. She's not missing the point. She's driving the narrative.
she's not going to win at that over here.
No.
Playtime, playtime is one thing, but actual parenting is another. He gets them 6 days a month. How 6 days a month?
You restrict my ability to parent, and your argument is I don't parent. Oh my God.
6 days a month. There's a book that I'm reading by attorney Jeffrey Leving, and one of the quotes in the book is that, I won't even go to the book. I'll go to that in a minute. I had a father who called me. He is a pastor in Greenville, South Carolina. And one of his biggest concerns after he divorced his first wife, who cheated on him with his best friend, let's go there, and he divorced her, he didn't make it a thing. That's the other thing. Men stay so silent about stuff. They stay so quiet about situations. And so he moved on, and his children became alienated from him. There was a place where he didn't know during the time that he would have with them. He said to me over the phone, do I parent them or do I just spend time with them?
Right, because you really don't have much time to focus on anything other than fun.
This is a pastor. This is someone who speaks eloquently, has a decent sized church that he leads, and people look to him and follow his voice. And Brittany, he wasn't even sure. He wasn't even sure. And so, my love, you are placing so much in the way of your own sanity and peace of mind and Chris's ability to be a parent. I want to read this because I've been on here too long. A parent like the mom in this case should never use their own personal trauma that they won't or can't work through and let go of as an excuse to keep a fit parent from their children. Children see everything, and once they are grown, they will see on their own. Brittany, do you really want your children to hate you because of the choices you are making based on your past trauma? Not only with your father, I'm going to say this outside of it, but also with Chris, that are affecting them, because they will have you, have you seen the responses from a erased family? Look it up. She is telling you the truth.
And I'm trying to avoid that.
When I found my father, I didn't hate my mother, but I also had to talk to my mother about who she was as a woman before I was born. And that's on YouTube. My mother divulged that she was broken. She had a bad relationship with my grandmother, and it really led not only her, but her and her sisters out in a place where they were looking for love in all the wrong places. And they found it in all the wrong places.
Let's ask a direct question.
I gotta get off here in a minute.
Yeah, and we can do that. I just want to ask a direct question because this is a question that I haven't really had the opportunity. I haven't texted it. What's the matter? You're reading stuff I'm not reading.
Yeah,
it's just more sewage, more woe is me.
Talk, but her attorney, with proof in hand, but she'll have her attorney present. Then that's what you'll have to do, talk to the attorney.
Fine. You got on here to get on a soapbox, but you're obviously not wanting to make this a positive.
Bedtimes. She's talking about parenting when they're with you on the weekend.
2 days a week. Yeah. Like I don't have a regular schedule with them. This is absurd.
They're with you on the weekends, which should be a later time, I'm thinking. And what you're talking about is parenting style.
Meal times.
And parenting style is a gatekeeper to alienation if you didn't know that. Once you're on the wrong page if you want some kind, like you're making it look even worse every time.
Right. Even if this video was used in court, at this point, Brittany, you're helping us. These are professionals, a lot of them on here, including Dr. Torri. I'm an expert witness.
I testify in cases. I'm not in yours at this point, but
but you could be, and this is sort of evidence here. I would love for this to be an opportunity to make a bridge and not to. I did join in the defensive he said she said conversation with Jimmy and Brittany just now, so I'm sorry for that. Because I was trying to defend myself and I did say truths. Now I did tell on you because you wanted to lie about me, but I know for a fact that I am so over the trying to prove to you what truth is, or if you even understand what it is. I just want the best resolution, and it's not a courtroom. I know that for a fact.
And now she's, but see, now here we go. I've never withheld him. He's just unable to maintain adulthood and keep a schedule.
Oh my God.
He has canceled more times than I can count before a court order. I filed this time. So, but during this court order, how many times is he canceled during the court order? Right?
It sounds to me like she's got a good case. So let's just do this in the courtroom.
Like, how many times is he canceled during the court order? Because what happened during the temporary court order is they're trying to prove and look for inconsistencies that you stated he's done. And if there's none, if you haven't filed a contempt, not on child support, because we know that's quick, but we're talking about time, parenting time, then you have no grounds to say that he doesn't come see his children.
Yeah, her argument
about before court order. You've been in this court order for a year and a half.
Her argument is, I don't see my kids when I'm supposed to. But my argument is, I want more parenting time. But she's arguing that I don't want to see my kids on the limited time that I'm granted. I've never missed that I can recall. I have not missed. There may have been one time. I don't, unless it was for work. I don't know. But I've been with my kids every single weekend and taken opportunities for extra days. Doesn't mean that I can always take what she offers, which she likes to play that setup game too, where it's change your mind last minute, or, hey, do you want the kids? Even though you're supposed to pick them up in an hour because you might be doing whatever you're doing and you want to see now if I will take them so you can keep having fun or recover from a hangover or whatever it is that adults are allowed to do. The point is, the setup game is obvious. My attorney's going to know it. Dr. Torri knows it. Professionals know it. And I don't want to go in a courtroom and do this. I don't want that. I want you and me to wake up and go, let's talk realistically, which is, you don't own children. I don't own the children. We belong to them equally. And I'm saying that I want to live my life with my kids. I want you to live your life with your kids. I want to come to an agreement of as close to equal shared opportunity with them to alleviate your work, to alleviate my work, to have adult time with Jimmy. Enjoy that. I bet that's fun. I want to have adult time, and I think we could raise our kids in a positive way if you would get off your control trip and go do what you got to do. You know, I don't want to keep going because I don't want to ramble, but to everybody, millions of parents who are going through this, no one trusts lawyers. Some people don't trust judges. We know the game. I'm telling you, let's step out of the game that they want us to play. You know I'm not a bad man because you will give them to me whenever you want for days without checking on them. You know that I'm a good man. You are playing setup games. You are hurting and you're trying to hurt me, and it's time to admit it. The same reason that I would verbally abuse you or you would verbally abuse me. Why were we doing it? Because we were miserable, because we were hurting each other. I don't want to do that anymore. But I'm not going to back off my kids, and your excuses are not going to have any weight. Your lawyer is going to be very surprised at the things that you convinced him of, that he's going to have disproven in court. And again, I don't want that. I want it to stop.
I know that she said in a text recently that you don't have the same attorney because they keep finding out the truth. No, he runs out of money, Brittany.
And those attorneys,
there are attorneys that I've spoken to, and it's all about the money. It's never it's never been about that he was a bad client. And it's also been about the fact that your attorney has made more motions for continuances or leave of absences.
And we can prove that too.
You can afford. That's all it is. can't afford it because he still has to pay his attorney. Now, I would question who's paying your attorney.
Right.
And how that's going to get paid and taken care of when you're working minimally and all of that. Because I know your attorney and I know he costs a lot of money.
And you can't work because of medical stuff. And,
So
why?
Paying for the attorney. Are you paying for the attorney, Chris?
Am I paying for mine?
No, for hers.
No. Does she think is that her plan? Is that their plan?
Maybe their tactic.
Good luck.
Maybe their tactic. And I'm going to say it on here.
Oh God, you're digging a hole.
It doesn't work like that. And I don't know what the situation is, but I'm hearing Chris say, let's work this out. And I also need you to know that a letter came in June where the judge is asking you guys to work it out. And it doesn't feel good when you can't work it out and you want to stand in front of a judge. You are playing into the hands of that movie, The Marriage Story. Like, remember that part where the guy is like, let's just work this out.
Right.
And she's being fed all of this stuff on the other
lawyers,
side.
Yeah, you can win.
And
you can win.
What are you winning? You're winning broken children because you've dragged them through this? You're trying
to hide your half, more than half, but we'll call it a half. Your half of the bad relationship from our kids, instead of just saying, hey, we screwed up and we couldn't make it work. Now we got to move on as parents. Too many parents do this. Too many broken parents. We both screwed it up. The percentages don't really matter, but I'm a good dad. I know I'm a good dad, and you're trying to sell that I'm not because you're hurt and you're hiding your own behavior, and it won't work. I'm too much of a dumbass, and I speak out loud about truth. Like, I will let a court punish me in public to disprove everything that you're saying. And I don't want that. You got on here.
You did.
Go ahead. You got on here, Brittany. You got on here, Jimmy. I was really hoping that it was to be a positive thing, but it seems like you're just arguing lies in public, which I'm cool with too. It's fun.
She jumped on because she thought your conversation today was going to be about her, and it just wasn't. It was going to be briefly skimming through the journey that went through. Yeah, and then getting into what does fighting fatherhood look like for other individuals. But this is live and in action. I was
organically occurring. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ashley says, children are living, breathing beings, not property you get to micromanage and control. Right. Our job as parents is to raise our children to not experience the traumas we have, to raise them to be better and more than we have been. Hold on. So my husband said, okay, how about try this? Try mediation, people, for the kids. For the kids, put everything aside for the kids. That's what the judge is asking for.
We did mediation and she walked out when I asked for 50-50.
It's fine, but you don't walk out. It's called mediation. So we have to work through it and get as close to 50-50 as possible, right? 12 days a month is what it is. Then 12 days a month is what it is. Courts have no place in this. Sounds like this parent needs a stranger to tell her what's best for the children, which removes responsibility and accountability, keeps the blame on a court, designed to create this kind of divide.
Amen.
This is the other part. I'm not even mad at Brittany. Brittany doesn't know that she's a tool.
She's being used.
Like many women don't know. And I have to tell even my Black sisters, I'm like, you have been used by the enemy to destroy not only the father in your children's lives, but to destroy your children. Because we think that when our children grow up, they're well put together, they have great jobs, they do this, but they're emotionally destroyed, and then they can't have good relationships, and they repeat the same pattern. She's also saying, Brittany says, good, let's do it. I'm happy to provide it all, because she wants to go to court for whatever reason. Brittany,
because her lawyer told her that. Yeah, her lawyer told her that he
provide it all in court, Brittany. I've already told Chris. Chris, y'all both want to tell it all. This is not Jerry Springer.
I don't want to tell it all.
Court is not Maury Povich. You do not get to tell it all. There are going to be specific things that are shared and told and if you tell some of the things you're trying to tell now, they're going to be like, it doesn't have anything to do with this. So let's just go ahead and do joint custody. And hopefully, because I know the attorneys that I have, they're going to get him more than every other weekend. And if Chris doesn't hold up his end of the bargain concerning that, I'm be all over him like white on rice. You better believe
She
it.
will.
You better believe it, because I don't take lies, Brittany, and I don't take people who come to me with excuses. So
Yep.
Chris can tell you, I will check him in a heartbeat.
She has.
And I have.
Yeah.
So be very clear on how I move behind the scenes.
Yeah, she doesn't, she's not here, Brittany, Jimmy, whatever, Jimmy, I don't know. Brittany, she's not here to advocate against you. She's here to support me, you, and our kids.
Yes.
That is her purpose.
Yes.
I just happen to be the one who reached out, and she sees that you're adversarial and not cooperative. That's all.
In this moment, yeah. I'm like, okay, this is, because once again,
you're getting to witness what I've been dealing with.
He's not said anything bad to me about you other than he wanted like to take the kids and you and the time frame, and we read the order, and I was like, well, it's kind of.
I just look, I asked for the kids, and yep. She keeps like dangling the kids in front of me like, oh, get you $1.
And when he talked about the time frame and he wanted to get them earlier, I said, sounds like to me you got to stick to the time frame unless she agrees. And so, and of course, Chris didn't like that, and I didn't want to tell him that.
No, I thought it was ridiculous.
He did, and I'm like, but that's what it is.
If you want to be, if she wants to be that way, she can be that way. I'll just tell it in court.
And I'm grateful that she changed her mind and you were able to go. No, we're talking about that moment.
Thank you for that.
We're talking about that moment. I appreciated it. I celebrated it. And I didn't know you, so I am grateful. I'm gonna tell you, Brittany, to your face, I am grateful you allowed that moment. The kids were able to go to the beach. He was able to play, make some money, and make sure that he was able to feed them proper food and able to provide a place for them while they were away, and then have beach time.
We had a great time.
So I am grateful for that moment. So let's just be clear. This is not about you and against you. Not all I do claim on. I don't know what that's, not all. I don't claim to own them or control them. Not been about the kids at all for Chris. Okay.
Oh God. Good luck selling that one.
I don't know.
I don't think we can have a real conversation.
I don't think so.
No, it's just a bunch
of on the money. And even Charles comes on here and he goes, Torri is all about the kids for sure. I've known him for years. He's heard me speak. These people know me.
Dr. Torri, how many dads have you told me that you had to fly a kite because they were deadbeats who they were abusive or they didn't want this and that?
Not many.
Well, but what I'm saying is you will do that.
Oh yeah, and give you your money back if I feel you deserve it. Some I don't give you money back.
Right.
But there's been about 6 or 7. I do not work with fathers who are garbage, Brittany.
There's a reason that you and I work together, not only as a client and, whatever in that aspect, but sort of side by side in certain ways too. There is a reason. And that's because you like my character.
I was about to throw a joke in there. I can't do it right now because they on here. Ashley said Dr. Torri always puts the kids first, whether anyone like it or not. Mr. Varg too. Yep. Moms don't like me because I'm going to put the kids first. Or there are some dads who are like, well, who are you to tell me I need to heal? I'm the person who you want to go through to get your kids. So you better get your stuff together in order for it to happen. People think I don't know. They think y'all sweet talk me. And I'm like, no.
Like I tricked you. I tricked you.
Yep. Brittany says, Torri, I'd love to chat. I would love to chat with you too, Brittany.
Please, God.
I'm not here to ruin anything. I'm here to help you. She said, let us have a conversation. Totally up for it. Can you call me on Tuesday? I'm going to put Var. Can you put the do you know the 1-800 number? No, because I can't put my direct line on here. It'll have to, 407-7990. Brittany, you call this number on Tuesday. And if I don't answer, I want to spell your name right. Yeah, Miss Judy has been on the line and she's like, thank God you said that. So I need you to know that this is not a game over here. Brittany, this is the number to my office. I just put it in the box, okay? Call that number on Tuesday. If I do not answer, please leave a message and I will call you back, okay? Because I need for us to work this out. This is not about, okay, you don't want to give them 50-50. but how close can you get it? And with Chris going through my program, I'm gonna put it out here. Chris doesn't get away with anything. And Chris then has to do some fatherhood program stuff to get his heart. Like, how do you move with these kids? It's not a lot, but it's enough to give him a strong foundation as a father so that he can be better than he ever was able to be without it. This is about supporting the family. That's what this is about. And so for women to think that I am on here being, swept off my feet by men, it's lunacy. I have had male best friends, and I talked about this before, majority of my life. I know when a man is sweet talking a chick. I know when a man is running game, and they don't get to run game on me. And Chris has never, ever tried. I can only chat on Monday mornings. Brittany, my day is off on Monday. Okay, okay. I will do this for y'all on Monday. So call me at 10 a.m. on Monday. 10 a.m., Brittany. You said between 9 and 11:30 a.m. Call me at 10 a.m. This is not legal talk. This is healing and emotional talk. And if we get to some level of peace, I'm fine with that.
I'd rather we don't ever need to have legal talk, because if we heal, then we can do the right thing. I'm not going to have
Chris on the phone. I'm not going to have any attorney on the phone. If you choose to have your attorney on the phone, that's fine, because I don't know him. I'm not trying to know him like you know him. I'm okay with listening like I listened today, but I don't want to continue to hear something that really is not going to have any bearing on whether or not he's a fit parent for children. Oh, this is interesting. As a mother of boys, how would you feel if this happened to them as fathers, where they have to spend thousands of dollars to see their children,
right?
Your grandchildren, Brittany? How would you feel? Because
I forget that those boys are going to grow up to be men. And how would they feel if a woman, in this case, in this scenario, obviously we always have to check ourselves and make sure we act like this happens to women too.
It does.
But in most cases, mothers of boys need to understand how would they feel, and my mom knows, how would they feel if their girlfriend, wife, who they have children with, did this to them.
Because let's put the number out here correctly. It says that 50% of children who are alienated, limited access, denied access to their fathers growing up are 50% likely to repeat this, right? So that means one of your children is going to have this issue. If you're just looking in your household, if we're just looking at the number of 50%, that means I
can tell you which one it's probably going to be too. The rowdy one, the little one.
I'm not getting involved with.
The little tiny one. He's angry.
I'm not putting that on either one of your children. I want them whole and.
I'm joking. I make jokes.
I know.
It's better than.
I know. It lightens the road.
Right.
So, Brittany, I look forward to talking to you on Monday.
Amen.
Do Healing Tuesday at 10. I've been missing it, but I'm going to be on the phone with Brittany at 10. So y'all going to have to come back and we'll figure out when we're going to do Healing Tuesday's prayers.
Technically, it's a good Healing Tuesday, I think.
Or not Healing Tuesday, Monday prayers.
Oh.
Yeah, Monday prayers at 10. I've been missing them. Ashley said, Dr. Torri's making all accommodations. There's no excuses left. It's time to put the kids first and recognize what this is doing to the kids. I'm going to take this last one. And then, Chris, I want you to play the song that you wrote with Madonna. Can you sing whatever you're
yeah. Well, we wrote that. I would love to, but we wrote that in a different key. Like she sings that song. Maybe I can figure it out.
Hold on. And I'm going to read it. The cycle will repeat if the healing isn't done. That's why this is such a generational issue. Then you go from being a parent hindering the relationship to being the Gmail. Oh, I don't know what that means. Who is erased from the the GMA, who's erased from the from their grandchildren by the mother. Yes, I pray for kids. Absolutely. I want to add to Manda. Remember, if dad only has 20% of the time, there's no time for parenting grandparents. Absolutely. She meant Gmail. Yeah, I was like, Gmail. Gmail. I got you, Ashley. So
No time for Gmail.
go ahead. I'm gonna say I'm Dr. Torri J. I am the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. I have never had anything like this happen to me before, but
Man.
I am grateful. I am grateful that all parties were on this live, and that hopefully we can figure this all out. So.
Okay, I've never sang this part.
Well, are you confident?
I'm thinking on the fly because this is not the right key. So
okay, well, then sing something else. Then you're gonna sing us out.
I think I got it. Hey, Mama and Daddy.
Yeah, you got it.
Would you please look down here? Don't know why you fight, but it's making me scared. Everything's changed.
I didn't mean to make you cry. I'm sorry.
Feel not getting along. I'll do better next time. Mama, why do I have to choose between my daddy and you? Why can't you just stay here the way that you used to? 'Cause I know you both the same. I don't even care who's to blame. Can we go back to the days of Mama, me and you? Daddy don't make a leave. Mommy needs me as much as I need you. That's all I got.
I know it's emotional. So I'm grateful that we did get some level. I look forward to talking to you, Brittany. And you guys have an amazing day. All right. Enjoy your 4th of July.